Hi, it's good to have your company. My name's Simon Smart. You're listening to Life and Faith from the set of Public Christianity with Justine Toe. And our guest today is Pete Schaffler. Pete, along with his wife Cara, is a missionary in Madagascar. They work for Africa Inland Mission, which is a non-denominational Christian missionary agency that's over 100 years old, mostly working in Africa, but also islands of the Indian Ocean. And we're going to talk to Pete about life there and what he's doing and why he does it. Pete, you've been in Madagascar for around 7 years. You've got another 4 to come at least. You know, the obvious question, most people in the West are familiar with Madagascar because of the kids' movies, but I imagine those films don't help us much in knowing much about the country, right?
Oh no, it's exactly like it. It's a perfect description. The animals, definitely. King Julian, they got his character to perfection. He's exactly like it, full of attitude. He sits on your veranda and does that bask in my glory thing and jumps all over the place, loves some people, hates others.
I've seen a picture of you with King Julian.
Yep.
He's there in your backyard, isn't he?
Yeah. He adopted us. We had a pet King Julian and he came and adopted us, and but he had to get released back into the wild. I think that's Madagascar 4, King Julian being released back into the wild. And so we had to put him into this rehabilitation program and have him released back into the forest. But before that, he adopted us as a family and would come and stay at our house. And he loved my wife but didn't like me.
Yeah, we can understand that.
Yeah.
But tell us about life in Madagascar then. It's very different from living in the West. You grew up in Sydney on the North Shore there.
Yeah, Madagascar is it's an amazing country. It's a beautiful and a really biodiverse country. The fauna and flora is just incredible. People go there just to have a look. So it's a country that's rich in resources. It's beautiful, amazing people, friendly people, but in extreme poverty. Average wage is $2 to $3 per day. Real subsistence living. Fishermen, when they catch fish, that's what they have to eat. And then they'll spend that when there's no fishing or the weather's bad, then no food. So,
yeah, it really strikes me, actually. I was looking at some photos of Madagascar earlier today, and because of you've already mentioned its biodiversity, it's got this most incredible animal life and some plant life that's so unique that it's only found in Madagascar on Earth. So the more I saw about it, I was like, it looks like paradise. But then when you start to see the other picture, it's like paradise lost because there's incredible health problems. I know infant mortality rates are something like 75 for every 1,000 births, and you compare that to Australia, that's 5 in every 1,000. And there's hepatitis A, typhoid fever, malaria, some of the country's biggest problems. Maybe these aren't problems in Australia, but, in a country like Madagascar, certainly the case.
When they look at satellite photos of Madagascar, they say Madagascar bleeds because of the huge erosion that comes from the runoff. And that's caused by all the deforestation that's happening there. They use charcoal as a source for cooking, and it's a very cheap source, but it's, they're just chopping down forests and clearing land. So, yeah, even though it is this beautiful place, it is really being impacted by the people there, and the people as well are really suffering, The life expectancy is 54, 57 years old. The children, the average age in Madagascar is 14. Our average age is 39. So it's a really young population demographic.
So Pete, begs the question, why'd you go there? What the heck? What were you thinking?
I think like everybody, we liked the name at first. We really, that just grabbed us, the name of Madagascar. But then the more we researched about the country and the more we saw about it and the information, we saw that this really fitted with us, and this was a place with great need and a place that we would be able to work in well.
Now, let's before anyone feels too sorry for you, let's be upfront about this. There's excellent surf in Madagascar, right? And I believe that there's a surf break named after you.
Yeah, that's right. There's a surfing spot called Pete's that I found thanks to Google Earth, and I was the first person to surf it and have been the last 3 years, and I've just been surfing these perfect left-handers that go for about 150 metres with just Pete out there and catching all the good ones. It's been very nice.
But it's also a big challenge, this place, to live in and take your family and so on. Is there a sense that you felt called into a place that has both great need but also kind of fits with your personality?
Yeah, he's interesting like that. He really takes care of us, and he loves our passions. And I guess that's something about me. He's just known that I love surfing, and I don't have to surf. I've lived away from the beach, but I also love surfing, and he's let me live in Tulia, this place, which has perfect waves, where there are only 2 locals in town pretty much, and he works, so I surf all the time. Well, when the surf's good, it's not always good, but when it's good, I'm there. It just seems to be the way God is, where you have that passion and he lets you use that in a place to do his work.
So in Tulia, you work a lot with young people in Madagascar. Can you tell us about the kind of work that you do, and what are some of the best things about working with young people, and perhaps also what are the big challenges there?
Originally, when we went to Madagascar, we saw a real need for youth work to happen in Madagascar. Like I said, the average age is 14. The lucky number for children is 14 in the family, so big families. And then when we went to have a look at Madagascar, we went in 2004, and we just saw the real need for youth ministry, because in Madagascar, if you're in youth, then you're in the choir. They love to sing, but they don't really know their Bibles or do much stuff in that area. They more just like to sing. They don't really know what they're singing about, you could say, about God. And so we saw a real need to do youth ministry. And so we went there with the desire to do youth ministry, but not quite knowing how we were going to do that. But while we were there, then we met another missionary couple, good old Southern Baptists from America, came to Tulia and they ran a conference on this thing called Storing, where basically you tell a story from the Bible. You don't preach from the story, but you ask a set of questions from the story, like, what do you like about the story? What confuses you, bothers you about the story? What do you learn about God? What do you learn about man? And what does the story tell you to do? And that way, what it does is it's kind of like development work, where it's empowering them to find the answers out of the story. And then they can decide how they want to live their lives based on that story. So it's been great to do that where we live in Tulia. Madagascar has 18 different tribal groups. And the highland people are very different to the coastal people. The highland people, they are more, they're not the straight speakers sort of people. They go around the corners, so to speak. And you might, in the highlands, you think everybody likes you, but you actually find out what they really think about you from their friends. But in Tulia, they just speak straight at you and tell you, I don't like you, straight to your face. And so at first that was really disconcerting. It was very difficult. I thought, everybody hates me in this place. But I've got used to that, and now I'm much more, I can handle their comments, and actually I can give it back to them just as well. So, I can speak to them just the way they speak to me, and it's all okay. It's just normal. And so, but that's been great too, because with our youth group, they love to discuss the stories. We sit down, and when we're doing a story, there's almost 5 conversations going at once, just bang, 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 all these discussions, and it's such an in-depth, passionate time of discussion through the stories, and I'm flat out keeping up with the Malagasy, but it's good.
So is this a sense where you're not just coming in and imposing a kind of Western framework around understanding this material, but you're trying to work with the culture?
Yeah, definitely. And also helping them to work out what could it mean for them to be a Christian, and what that would look like in their culture and in their context, and encouraging them to do that, whatever that is.
You're listening to Life and Faith from the Centre for Public Christianity.
What already exists in the Malagasy culture that is a natural meeting point for Christianity?
They are very aware of God. The question, prove that God exists, is a stupid question for a Malagasy person, and I think 80% of the world's population would be like, that is just a dumb question. Are you dumb? Yeah, or not dumb, It's just a silly question, because they would, they know there's a God. They see it through the spiritual world. They're connected to the spiritual world, either through the witch doctor, through the dead ancestors. And for them, it's a great, Christianity really does meet towards their needs. I mean, there is resistance as well to that. In Madagascar, it's interesting, the setup is, it's 40% Christian, the predominance is Catholic, 50% animism, which is ancestral worship and the witch doctor sort of stuff, and then 9% Muslim. And it's really interesting, the Muslims and the Christians sort of coexist quite friendly. It's quite amazing. I haven't ever seen that before. The Christianity is much more around the cities and the towns where they're educated. Whereas as soon as you leave the towns, that's where it's all the witch doctor and the animism stuff is really much stronger.
Can you tell us a bit more about the kind of spiritual forces perhaps that you're up against?
Yeah, sometimes it's quite scary. I mean, we hear stories of, in Madagascar there's a large amount of cattle thieving. It's sort of the main pastime in Madagascar is to steal cattle, and often if they catch a cattle thief, they'll dig a hole and bury the cattle thief in the hole up to his neck. They'll kill a sheep and get the blood and the guts, and they'll pour it on the man, and they'll come back in the morning and all that's left is a skull where the wild dogs have attacked the man. I've heard other stories, I don't know how true these are, where it's very important that when a person is buried, he's buried in his hometown. And the witch doctor has incredible power in Madagascar, and he will put together a motion or a potion, put it on the dead body will get up and walk home and drop down dead when they can't get the body home by themselves. So there seems like these amazing dark forces in the place, and sometimes it is quite scary.
You must feel that keenly having a young family there.
Definitely. I guess that it's fire to our prayers when we pray. But we know we're safe. We've seen God just protect us, and we've seen ourselves stay out of amazing trouble. And in Tulia, it's a place, a guy explained it to me, it's the sort of place you want to keep your head down, because as soon as you put your head up, someone's there to hit it. And so you just don't want to make enemies in Madagascar. And you want to stay out of trouble and do whatever you can to do that, which can be very difficult.
What's their educational system like? Is it also just, wrecked?
French is the official language, a government language there. So they will go all the way, they can go to university and they can get a good education. With the corruption and the current government situation is quite, it's a dictatorship at the moment, and it was taken by a military coup. And the Prime Minister pays the police and he pays the army, but he hasn't paid the teachers or the doctors. So the teachers have been in strike for a whole year, including the students. So much so that they cancelled the end-of-year exams. There were no baccalaureate exams held for the end of this year. So those students have to go back and redo that year. It's
a difficult environment, Pete. Now, I wondered about whether you could comment on the fact that you and your wife, Cara, is a nutritionist, you're an environmental scientist. Are you able to bring any of those skills to help the people there?
Yeah, I think along with this Bible storying, we would also really like to work with development work, and we have a member of our team who is an expert in development work, and we're hoping to run a workshop in August next year where she will come and we'll help them, because the important thing to do with development work is empowering them to realise that they are one of God's creation who have gifts and skills and ability, and God doesn't want them to do nothing, and they can come up with ideas, and helping them to see that and giving them initiative and help to get started, to start businesses, to do work. And so as a foreigner, we really need to, or a missionary, we really need to change our thinking and see how can we do things that are culturally appropriate, that empower and enable them to make a difference in their world and society.
So, Pete, as you think about the next 4 years and your whole time there, what do you hope you'll achieve with the young people of Madagascar in the time that you're there?
This strategy of telling stories out of the Bible and asking those questions about the story is a church planting strategy. And so we would like to actually plant youth groups in churches through this storying method. So if possible, we would like to see that go through Madagascar, and any church that would like that kind of youth group, we would like to go and help.
And is there a sense of, for you, of really bringing light into a kind of a dark situation in some senses?
The thing I love is seeing the youth wrestle with the story and how the stories just change their life, but in a real positive way, that they see that they are part of God's story and God is working in their life just as he has been through all of history, and he will continue to. And when they see that they can love and trust him, that things will work out for good for them.
For more Christian perspective on contemporary life, publicchristianity.org.
Our guest today has been Pete Schaffler, a missionary in Madagascar. He's on his way back there pretty soon. It's great to hear your experiences there, Pete, and we wish you all the best as you go back.
Thank you.